Greetings, Karen Clay. Thanks for watching Somatic Unwinding here. We're going to continue with working on the psoas muscle for a few more lessons. And I wanted to let you know that the lessons are really meant to be done in one continuous stream, but obviously we can't do that because it would make it too long for you to watch. So I've broken it down, but what I'm going to do is start with a little bit of backtracking to the previous lesson and then catch up with some new material because we can't go into this work cold into the later stuff. So we need to sort of build a context physically in order to allow the psoas to do its lengthening. So it's a really important nervous system regulator. There's tons of nerves that go through the psoas muscle, and of course it's very close to the enteric brain. So it has a lot to do with fight or flight or rest and settle. And that's why we want to really take our time in working with this. So I have a really great picture to show you. A picture of lying on the back. And you can see how the psoas comes off of the fronts of all of these vertebrae over the pubic bone and drops back to basically the hip joint, just below the hip joint. So here's the head of the femur. Here's the greater trochanter, which is the bone that sticks out on your thigh. Here's the attachment. So this is what you look like. This is what your psoas looks like when you're lying on your back. And what we did last time, and what I suggest you do again today, is to have a rolled up blanket. It's not going to be one of those hard, rigid rollers. It needs to be a blanket. Cotton or wool is better because fleece is too squishy. So you want a nice firm cloth blanket. And we'll get started right now. So, camera, find your way onto your mat. Bring yourself down onto your back. I'm actually going to turn this way. And we'll do the same baseline every single time. I'll talk you through it. So just getting yourself settled on the ground, listening in for the comfort of having the floor underneath you and the way that your system immediately responds to being supported, and to becoming curious as to if you can find new places to let go. Maybe in your lower rib cage, you can start to let that go. Maybe you can let your heels go more into the floor, your elbows, the back of your skull. So we'll do our pre-test, which means we draw one leg up and then the other, and sense how that changes the lumbar curve and the curve in the neck, and then lengthen one leg and the other, and sensing again how that changes. So when the legs are bent, the lumbar spine is a little flatter, a little longer. The neck is a little flatter, a little longer. That's because we have this quadruped relationship. I'm a quadruped on its back right now. So when the hip joints are perpendicular to the spine, it's an easier place for the lumbar spine to not shorten. So remember that picture that I showed you. When the legs extend, it's as if the legs draw the psoas down and it creates a little bit more of a curve. It's not that we're supposed to have a flat lower back. We want a natural lumbar curve, just not too much. Okay, so let's come back and bring the roller underneath. And remember, it's under the back of the pelvis, not under the small of the back, not under the waist, but if here's your pubic bone, really just behind your pubic bone, that would be your sacrum, if you know what that is. And if you don't, it doesn't matter. It's the bone on the back of your pelvis. So you're going to bring the legs in again and just sense what that feels like to have the roller, which is actually putting your pelvis in this position. So it's the opposite of arching. It's sort of a rounding a little bit. And that's so that we can take the load off any tightness in the lower back muscles or the hamstring muscles, and also just so it's not hard to have the legs be flexed in like this. So this time, put each hand over the top of your knee with your fingertips pointed down the legs and just shake and jiggle a little bit. Just test yourself to see how much your legs can be like marionette puppets, as if they weren't connected to you, as if someone else, not your very own self, were doing this. So they're completely passive and loose. And that might take you some time to get to. It might not. You'll get better at it as you go. And then just a reminder that what we did last time was we put our hands on the thigh sides above the knees, created a little bit of resistance, against which we pulled one knee towards the chest, resisting with the hand, pulling and pushing at the same time, because that engages the psoas muscle. The smaller the movement you make, the slower the building of the contraction. So you wait and you wait and you wait for the threshold of the movement to happen. For a while, there'll be nothing happening, and then there'll be a little tiny movement. And along with that movement will be a sensation that you might not recognize. Just like when you taste a foreign food and you're experiencing a sensation that you might have very little context for and very little name for. So it's a new thing, and you have to listen carefully because you want to cultivate an awareness of that sensation so that you can be aware of having a tight psoas, just like you could be aware of having tight shoulder muscles or tight neck muscles, and it'll be more in your control. Okay. So now the next thing we're going to do is, let's see, let's go ahead and see if you can engage the psoas without moving your knee. So let's say I said tighten your abdominals. You could create a flat abdominal wall without moving, right? You could just voluntarily contract that. If I said contract your neck muscles, you could tighten your neck muscles without moving. So it's the same idea here. Can you find a way, bring your fingers on either side of your belly button so that you can drop your fingers into the psoas. Can you find a way to engage that muscle without actually moving? So it's a little bit of a tongue twister at first, but before the leg moves, the psoas moves before the leg moves. So it's going to jump into action to pop up under your fingertips before the leg actually moves. So see if you can get good at that. And see if you can also get good at letting it go. Part of the contracting of the muscle is so you learn how to let go better. Once you feel like you have it, can you slow it down so that you're stepping on the accelerator very slowly, like you're easing out of a parking place or easing into the garage. So you just become very deft, very light. Great. Now let your hands away and just pull your knees in one at a time and see if once again, without using your fingers, you can still sense the psoas deep inside the front of your body, at the back of the front of your body. So now once again, we'll grab the legs. Let's just lower the left foot and simply hold on to the right leg. And this time, yeah, I think you can just cup your hands around the top of the knee or whatever's comfortable for you. The idea is to keep, so we worked on contracting the psoas voluntarily. Now we're going to work on keeping it uninvolved and quiet. So as you start to move the knee away from your belly, the psoas doesn't have to grab. It doesn't have to worry that your leg is going to fall off because you have your leg. You have your leg in your hands. I'm going to move closer because I'm not in the camera completely. There we go. You have your leg completely in your hands. So you can move it closer to you and further away from you, shaking it and jiggling a little bit so that the psoas does not grab, does not react as if you're going to fall. And when we react as if we're going to fall, we freeze. So see if you can keep the leg in your control all the way until you run out of arm. There's no more arm left. And then just bring that back in and do it again. Maybe shake and jiggle it out. You can use two hands or one hand. You can use hands over the front of your knee or over the top of your knee. And then when you get to the end, like we did last time, just let the leg drop. And you'll do the same on the other side, holding on with two hands or one hand around the sides or over the top. And you're going to start with the leg close to you and slowly feed length from the psoas as your knee gets further away from your chest. If you feel it grab, then come back again. Maybe shake it, jiggle it a little bit. Let it move away again. It stays placid and undisturbed. Doesn't have to grab. Doesn't have to hold on to the weight of the leg. It would if you weren't holding on to your leg. If you weren't supporting the weight of your leg, your psoas would definitely have to do its job. But in this case, it doesn't have to. And so you get to have the experience of this myofascial structure being long and loose and supple all the way to the length of your arm. If you feel like you're not able to let go, make sure that your leg is securely handled, that you really have your leg. Drop back in one more time. Take it back out again slowly. And then let it go. So from there, we'll lift up the roller, return to the back, slide the legs long again to sense the difference in the shape of the curve of your lower back, in the distance from the floor that your lower back arches, the distance from the floor that the apex of the curve of your neck is. Draw your legs up one more time. Let them down again so that you can have a way to measure what's different. What's different about how this is now? You feel like the psoas has gotten longer so that it doesn't have to pull your lower back away from the floor when your legs slide long. So that's today's lesson. We'll return next week. Thank you so much for watching.